Yeah, so you're very welcome to the latest edition of the LGFA Zoom series, as we're calling it now. We've been catching up with various figures involved in ladies Gaelic football over the past number of days and weeks, and the way things are, we'll be catching up with a lot more in the foreseeable future as well. So I'm delighted to be joined today by Emily Ward, who is representing Japan GAA, and she's also the Asia GAA Secretary, and Sean Harte, a native of Tyrone, who is the Canada GAA Chairperson. Sean and Emily are very welcome. How are you both?
Very well, Jackie. Thank you, and thanks for having us.
Not a problem. How are you, Emily?
Very good. Thank you for having us on the
Not
phone.
a problem. As I say, we were anxious to catch up with our international units to see how things are. Sean, as I look here down the bottom of my screen, so I'll kick off with your good self. Before we got underway, we were chatting off air, and you were telling me that you've been based in Canada since October the 3rd, 1974. That is a long, long time.
Yeah, it's a long time and a lot of water under the bridge since then, Jackie. When I arrived in Canada, I joined a local football club, St. Vincent's. I've been on various club committees. More recently, I'm a member of St. Mike's Hurling and Football Club, but I've been on committees here, divisional committees, and most recently, Chairperson of Canada since 2016.
What took you to Canada in the first place, Sean? Do you mind me asking?
Well, I think it seemed like a good place to go. You know, things weren't the greatest in Tyrone back in 1974, Jackie, and a lot of local fellows and classmates were all heading for New York and Philadelphia and places like that. So there were so many of them leaving to the US that I kind of looked for something different. And my wife had a family member here in Toronto, so it seemed like a good place to go. As well as that, I was giving landed immigrant status for Canada, so it meant that I could come to Canada, get a job, and work legally as well. So really, that was really about the height of it, but no regrets for sure in coming to the great country of Canada.
And Sean, what do you do for a living yourself?
I'm an insurance broker here for the last 25 or 30 years. We cater to the commercial insurance sector, taxis, limousines, and small trucking fleets.
And how has business been affected adversely, positively? How have you found that experience, Sean, in recent times?
Yeah, our business has taken a huge hit here, Jackie, because we're heavily weighted in the taxi and limousine sector. And of course, they can't work. And so if they can't work, they can't pay premium. So most of them, just requested that their insurance policies be put on hold or their insurance premium be refunded. So yes, from a business perspective, it's been pretty dramatic.
Yeah, pretty challenging time, Sean. We wish you well. Emily, I'm going to bounce up to you on the top left-hand corner of my screen. Emily, you're an American native, you were telling me, involved with Japan GAA and Secretary of Asia. So I'm sure there's quite a backstory there. How are you, Emily?
Good.
Can you tell me a little bit about your journey? Sean has touched on his journey from Tyrone to Canada. Your journey from America to Japan.
Well, I was born in Japan
Okay.
and lived here most of my life. My father was in the U.S. military, so I was here a long time. But I went away for university, and when I came back to work in Tokyo,
Okay.
I met some people some girls who were playing Gaelic football, and I got involved back in 2005. That was my first Asian Gaelic Games. And just naturally got involved in the club committee. Then around 2011 or 12, started getting involved with the Asian County Board, and I'm still here.
Very good. Emily, what do you do yourself for a living away from Gaelic Games?
I work as a translator, and I think you asked Sean about like how it affected his work, but the translation wise, I haven't seen too much of an impact. But I also live in a ski town in Japan, so I live about 4 hours from Tokyo, and the town I live in is completely reliant on tourism, and it's been really interesting to see how affected people have been here. Luckily, the ski season ended just a little bit earlier. We got the bulk of it done before it got really serious here. But if it had been, December, January, that things were really serious in Japan, it would have devastated this town. So
Okay.
I think we're a little bit lucky. It's really quiet here, though. There's no tourists around, nobody around. It's like very, very quiet.
Very surreal, I'd imagine, Emily. How has it impacted, do you think, the pandemic on just life in general? As you say, it's very quiet, but obviously we'll touch on Gaelic games and activities there. I suppose, first of all, in general life, how has the pandemic impacted, and how badly hit has your area been, Emily?
For us in Japan, it's a bit strange because we only went into lockdown, or like it's called a state of emergency here. So it wasn't a true lockdown, I think, as you've had it in Ireland, where you really couldn't go out and about. It's only happened maybe a month or two ago, at the end of March, I think. So it feels somewhat normal. And in my area in particular, it's the countryside that it doesn't feel like much has happened. This is how it, like, there's nobody around this time of year anyway. Just more people wearing masks, people being more careful about that. But that's Japan, and I think our area is pretty unique because we're many different countries in our region. So what we're doing in Japan is completely different from what was happening, say, in Malaysia. I think that they were in a very restrictive lockdown until the past weekend, where they couldn't even go outside. I think only one person can go to the supermarket. Okay. And again, different restrictions in Singapore or South Korea, or you probably have seen the newspaper article about the Shanghai GA Club. And I think they've finally been able to go back to more regular life, or I guess it's the new normal, because there's a lot of, I think they have QR codes that show a different color, and there's temperature checks, and it's not as it used to be, but it seems a little bit more relaxed than the rest of Asia. The rest of us are not there yet.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, particularly about Shanghai, Emily, and how they're managing that, and how have they returned to play, or are they just back at a training stage? Where are they on this journey, or this return to something resembling normality?
Well, I only know based on what they've told me. I know they had at least one training session several weeks ago, but the Asian County Board, like, official stance is that we have asked clubs not to go back to training. Okay. Because actually, unfortunately, we've had to cancel our regional games that would have been scheduled for May and June. So our view is that there's nothing to train for, and we don't want clubs to go back training too early, and maybe risk the health of their club members or the community around them. So right now, we're asking all clubs not to train.
Okay, Sean, what's the stance or the situation in your part of the world?
Very similar to what you just heard there from Japan. When this all came down, we absolutely cancelled all Gaelic games across the country, and indeed that included just this morning. I had a message from Montreal Shamrocks. Stephen Owens up there. That's the oldest club in Canada that has been running this annual May 2-4 tournament for many, many, many years. But just this morning, it became known to all of us that tournament as well is cancelled. But at the same time, we need to now start, turning our projections towards getting games up and running again. I don't know how that looks. I don't know how that's going to take place, but we do need to take a look at how we will get our games up and running again. We got 10 provinces in Canada. There's Gaelic games in 8 of those. Each of those provinces have their own, governing health bodies, etc. So we're going to just take the role from them as the provinces loosen and allow things to happen. We'll take direction from the provincial healthcare people, and hopefully we'll be able to get some sort of games back up and running. But for us, the biggest, I suppose, disappointment, if you will, was the cancellation of our very, very first Canadian championships, which were going to be held in September in Toronto. So that was disappointing. But again, it is what it is. They'll be back up and running in 2021.
Well, Sean, can I ask you just on a human level, and you're from Tyrone, and the county in general has faced many challenges and adversity down through the years. In terms of where we are with this pandemic and the newness of it and the unpredictability of it and the uncertainty of it, how do you kind of sum it up, or in terms of a life experience that we're going through right now?
I think Tyrone and Toronto and Canada, I think everybody's in a very, very similar situation. You know, there was no monopoly on this thing. It just took off and went across the world. Canada, I would suggest, is a very disciplined country. You know, people took it on board and they done what was asked of them by their federal and provincial governments. But for life in general, of course, it's a huge thing, you know, because we tend to forget that there's a certain amount of people that can get out and about every day, and that makes their day go by a little bit easier. There's a lot of people that are sitting at home and can't get out, wives and partners and everything else. So, you know, the effects have been felt there. And you know, what we all look forward to is the day when we're able to go back out in some capacity to properly shop and go to our stores and stuff. I think in Canada here, the restaurant industry would be one of the industries that has been the worst hit. And we have some wonderful Irish restaurants in and across Canada that have all supported the GAA across the country for a long, long time. Real good partners of the GAA across Canada. They're going to have a difficult time as well. So we can only wish everybody the best, in, you know, as we exit this thing, and hopefully everybody gets back up and running real soon.
Emily, just on a human level, how have you found the challenge of negotiating what we're going through right now?
I think a lot of it is just, you know, well, I have a child, so that's been tough. I think, you know, the people who have kids at home, it's been hard for them or for us to manage that. And, you know, it's that feeling of I guess I know that we don't have, like, many of us don't have it as bad as other people. So it's, you know, like I think there's lots of memes that have been out, like, all you have to do is sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you know, like it's not as bad as, you know, the people in hospitals or working at the supermarkets have to do. So it's kind of balancing this frustration of feeling like you have to stay inside, and also like that the world has changed so much in such a short time, because we don't know, especially being overseas like this, like we don't know when we get to go home next, because for example, like if I were to leave Japan now, I would not be able to enter and indefinitely because of the I guess the ban that they've put in for people entering the country. It's not even a quarantine level. It's like I just can't even get in. So that's affecting like travel. Like, you know, we have a tournament with multiple clubs. We're going to have to travel to another country. And at the moment, that's a huge problem, because we know that we can't, first of all, we couldn't get into a country, and then we won't be able to come back. And then if we were able to come back, you know, can we afford to do a 14-day quarantine at home and not go to work? So there's a lot of issues around that.
Yeah, very much so. And I have two kids here myself, Emily. So the room that you see is the upstairs bedroom, and it's my haven at times over the last little while. Sean, you mentioned the day that we do finally get back playing, and I think we have to try to look forward to that. That's going to be one hell of a day, isn't it?
It sure is. In the lead up to that as well, as you know, Jackie, all of the associations, you know, including the LGFA, have been absolutely wonderful with all of the materials that they've produced on Zoom. So it really has kept us and kept our heads all in the game. But I suppose as we move forward and try to get games up and running again, we have to try to plan and see how those will take place. But I'm sure it would be a brilliant day. For me, I would love to see, you know, August or September, you know, for Canada to get back up and running and have a festival of Gaelic games across the country with plenty of social media and all the rest of it. Just to see our people out again, you know, enjoying the games that they love would be incredible for all of us.
And where are Canada right now in terms of restrictions and maybe a roadmap to recovery, Sean?
I think locally here, they have moved from lockdown to going out but staying your distance, and I think that's one of the lines that came out from some of the local authorities there yesterday. But I would say in general, though, that none of the provinces have given anybody the clear light as to when participation in any particular sport might take place.
Okay, Emily, you've touched on the situation in Japan and Asia. It's going to be it's going to be very, very nice when we finally do get back playing some football and playing some Gaelic games.
Yeah, definitely. But we've been trying to keep people together through fitness challenges. I know each individual club have their own thing going, but there's a lot of people doing fitness challenges and Zoom workouts, and the ACB is actually running a virtual quiz night every Tuesday night. So that's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun, and it's kind of like a silver lining that's come out of it, that we wouldn't have never gotten people to make it worthwhile to run a quiz like this, but because of what's going on, people are coming together, and it's been really nice to meet, see people in a different way.
Yeah, and Emily, I guess, and Sean, it would have been very difficult to envisage myself, yourself, and Emily on one call, on a Zoom call in times like this. So there's a connection piece as well. I mean, last week we would have brought together a couple of players from Laois and Monaghan that played back in 1996 that wouldn't have seen each other for years, and there they are on the same screen interacting with each other. And I'm talking that, well over 20 years they wouldn't have seen each other or interacted with each other since their playing days. So there is maybe that piece where people are reconnecting with each other through all this, Sean.
No question about it. And just to the point, all of the clubs have done a wonderful job of keeping themselves entertained, as mentioned, with quizzes and whatever it might be. All of that there has been fantastic. And you see it come from home as well. And because of the social media side of it, we're able to follow clubs from Ireland, clubs from Asia, clubs from across Canada, clubs from America that are doing things to the simple thing of entertaining yourself while this is all going on. So it brought us back to a very basic part of life where you can live with, getting your groceries home, and just living a simple life in contained.
Well, keep us posted on what's happening in Canada, Sean, and in Japan and Asia. Emily, tag us on all those social media channels, and we're more than happy to share. It's great catching up with you guys. When would have been, just to finish off, when would have been the last time you would have seen each other in the flesh?
Well, that happened, as you know, just at the GA Congress for myself. So we were both there then. So really, it's not that long ago that we have all been together. And I suppose that came with being, in the positions that we hold, that we were able to congregate in Dublin there for congresses, and Angelo Murray represented us, as you know, Jackie, at the LGFA Congress. So we're going to say we haven't been, together since late February, early March.
And Emily, hopefully we'll all be together again very soon.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I had that chance to see everybody then.
Yeah, fantastic. Great catching up with you guys, Emily Ward and Sean Harte. I really appreciate your time today. Stay safe, take care of yourselves and your families, and we wish you very, very well. And thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.